What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining us on yet another episode for Walking Manifestator. And in this journey, we have a goal to help you awaken your highest self, embrace and embody your higher consciousness, a transformation journey with the Walking Manifestator that you already are. With that being said, I am your host, Alexa Pena, and today we have a super fun episode that is going to really change the way you perceive your reality. With that being said, let's dive deep. Now, in this episode, I really want to talk about something that really inspired me that I actually listened to today that Dr. Joe Dispenza said. And for those of you that do not know who Dr. Joe Dispenza is, what are you doing? I'm kidding, but no, for real, there is so much information that I have really overall just grown fond of, but more importantly, just found such transformation in my life. And one of the best books that I recommend from Dr. Joe Dispenza is Becoming Supernatural. Now, this is one of my favorite books. You probably, if you've read any of his material, maybe have read the one of You Are the Placebo. There's so much insight on that one as well. However, my favorite still remains Becoming Supernatural. And in an episode that he was actually having today, he shared how your personality creates your reality. And when he said that, I was like, ooh, mic drop. And hear me out for a second. So we've talked about in past episodes, and if you haven't seen them, I highly recommend it for you to look at the paradigm episode. But essentially, we talked about how your paradigm is essentially events that have happened in your life that have exclusive or almost exclusive control over your habitual behavior, meaning things that have happened in your life that have essentially molded you to be the person that you identify to be who you are. The reason why that powerful statement impacted me today was because he put it in such a profound way that I feel this is a reason why mentorship is so important in anything you're doing. Think about it. Your personality truly creates your reality. The way that you carry yourself, the way that you act with other people, the way that you communicate, everything from your personality is how you are perceived and therefore how you perceive the exterior world. Now, in that personality type, I know that for most of us, we can identify with the fact that there's things that we see within us that we still need to evolve, right? We still need to grow. We still need to become better versions of ourselves. Now, if you're in a state in your life where you feel like, no, I am perfect, then this is definitely not the podcast for you. However, if you're in a journey of self-development and really trying to embody the highest and best version of you, then definitely stick around. The reason why, when you think about how your personality dictates everything around you, is because that paradigm that you have been conditioned by, whatever limiting beliefs you were raised with, whatever influences of people telling you you are worthy or unworthy, whatever external noise you have gone through, it has played such a huge impact on your personality. Now, by acting a certain way, as we've talked about, the energy you're carrying is going to carry a frequency, is going to have a wavelength. Now, you cannot attract anything to your life that you are not in harmony with, that you are not in the same magnetic field with. These are some concepts that we've shared in previous episodes. And for those of you that have not listened, to essentially sum it up, we are all energy. We carry a frequency, and this frequency that we are putting out is going to have a direct impact on what we're receiving. Energy is something that you can feel. However, as well with that, they have conducted studies to show that we all carry energy. So the way that this works is when you are in a state of lack, when you are in a state of fear, when you are in a state of overall feeling stressed out and not good enough, All of these play a huge impact on how you perceive your reality. Now, by realizing and recognizing this is how we're able to start breaking free from previous patterns that we have been conditioned neurologically up to this point to act on the assumption of. Now, if I can share with you one of the most important key points in your journey when it comes to changing the way that you act. And you might say, why would I want to change? And like I said, if you're not in a overall part in your life where maybe you're trying to develop, then maybe you're not going to resonate with some of the messages right now. But that's okay. You will have a moment in your life where you will resonate with growth. And if you already are, I am telling you, life can really put you through some turbulence. And that's the interesting part. That's why so many people sometimes decide to opt out of growing. They decide to stay stagnant in where they're at because of the fear of not only failure, but because of the fear of all the change that you developing brings. Now, the only way that you can truly grow is by, to a certain degree, and for simple context, destroying what you had. You cannot build a new house on top of a previous house, right? You need to get back to the actual foundation and rebuild from that. Now, here's the interesting part though. A lot of us have identified things in that paradigm as part of who we are. And the interesting part is, if we were to strip every single experience you have had, every single moment that you felt unworthy or just overall unappreciated, unfulfilled, whatever you might have experienced, we can break it down to how people in your external environment made you believe you were worthy of. So think about it. And I shared in one of my in one of my first episodes, actually, how I had a French teacher that shared with me. This was like from one of the public schools that I was going to when I was younger. And I shared with her how I wanted to be an attorney when I was younger. And she told me that I should essentially look for something that was going to be easier because she really didn't think that was in my best interest to go after that career. And she said it in a different way, obviously, me being a young kid, but she essentially told me that I shouldn't go for that because maybe I wasn't going to succeed in that. I do not hold any resentment toward this person because I do believe that that was her belief system. That was based off what she sees this person that is, in a underprivileged family, sees this person that maybe doesn't have everything at that time that she identifies as successful stepping stones. And based on her paradigm, she made an assumption. Well, think about it. This is what happens to 99% of us. We've gone through situations in our life that whether you succeeded or failed, and there is no failures because you actually should grow from them. But for simple context, let's say you have a situation where you feel like you failed. Chances are you have one of two options that you're going to go for. Either number one, you're going to completely move forward and try again and decide that this is the moment that you embark in this journey, and no matter what, you're going to go for it. Or two, which happens more times than not, you decide it was just not something in alignment for you anymore. You decide that you don't want to pursue that path, career, scholarship, whatever the case might be. Now, the reason that happens is based off the conditioning that you have received. You see, more times than not, and look at the media, when are they talking about positive things? Typically, if they're trying to keep your attention from something, the easiest way is going to be to bring negativity. When you think about how your personality plays such an important part in your life and what you attract, this is because we identify as things that have happened to us. You're driving down the street, somebody hits your car, and all of a sudden you're saying, they hit me. Well, no, right? They hit your car, but because we're so associated to that piece of metal that we say, you hit me, you've hurt me, right? And this is something that for me, if I could go back and say, what has been one of the most important changes in my life that I could like tangibly say to you this has helped, it has been to learn how to become more conscious with how I see myself, with what conversations I'm having in my head. You see, when you are in autopilot because you don't realize what you're thinking about, because you don't realize what you're actually putting out, because you don't realize how you're communicating with other people, it can become very dangerous. It can become something where you are acting in a very toxic behavior, in a very toxic energy, even for yourself, but of course, you affect those around you, but yet you don't realize it. You see, for the longest time, I remember being the type of person that, it got to the point where I had been bullied enough to where I became the person that was like, I am not going to allow this to happen anymore. And I decided to stand up for myself. And I became the person that was now acting in a negative behavior and a toxic behavior and energy. Now, what did that do? That just brought more stress to my life. That just brought more energies that were overall senses of feeling unworthy, everything that essentially makes you feel disconnected from the true self. Now, when we talk about this, I want you to really think about it. If I were to take away every experience from your life, if I were to take away every situation that you've gone through, if I were to take away every person that you've encountered, and we strip you to when you were a pure soul that had barely came to this world, to this journey, right? How would you say you would identify? Who are you? You see, and this is a question that I feel is going to maybe be in alignment with what I'm about to share, and maybe it's different from what you see, but I do strongly believe that we come to this earth to learn and evolve. And of course, as we know, there's certain religions that want you to feel a little bit different from that, but I do firmly believe, and this is just my opinion, that I personally do not want to identify with one specific religion, because I do believe that the more you identify with one reality, with one religion, with one perspective, the more that you close yourself to other perspectives, and therefore that can be very detrimental to your growth. I prefer to actually accept, as long as you are in alignment with the energy that I just mentioned, is important for your consciousness. I believe that we're all talking about the same thing. When you talk about God, when somebody talks about source, when somebody talks about energy, when somebody talks about the universe, I believe everything is connected. And there is some very compelling studies. If you do not know who Dolores Cannon is, she is a regression therapist, hypnotherapist. And if you just read any of her books, I am telling you, you will embark a very interesting perspective. But I say this because think about this. By dividing, you can conquer. And that's the reality that has happened with our generations. Divide and conquer. The more you divide the people, the more you're able to have control, the more you're able to suppress people's thoughts. And this is why our overall world has been so geared around making us feel separate from others. If you don't like the same stuff that I do, if you don't see everything exactly the same way that I do, then you are wrong and I am right. And you see, that's a very toxic behavior that, as long as we don't become aware of how this is affecting our life, our energy, those around us, it is going to continue forever. You see, there is this conscious shift that is happening in consciousness. More people are overall feeling a sense of wanting to find a purpose, wanting to live a life that is worth living. More people are looking to actually be in alignment with being free, feeling fulfilled, not just the regular rat race of go to work or start a career, get in debt, go to work for somebody else, and live a life that feels like you're incomplete. You see, and nowadays there's more of that inner calling. And if you can resonate with anything I'm saying right now, there is a part of you that is being awakened. You see, when somebody shares something with you and it resonates, this is part of your instinct. This is part of your intuition. There's certain things, as I'm sure you can relate to, somebody will tell you something and you're like, yeah, no, that doesn't feel right. I'm not resonating with that. And that's okay. But this is why, when you can understand your personality, when you can understand the type of energy you're putting out to the world, it is going to have such an impact on how you actually act with the world. Now, I'm not saying that by putting energy that is positive, you're always going to get positivity back, because we do need contrast in our life. I prefer to see it as contrast because you're able to learn from a situation. You're able to actually see it as the opposite of what positive would be labeled as. However, it's not negative unless you label it as negative. And if you can grow, because for most of us, when we go through a little turbulence in our life, it allows us to grow, it allows us to develop. You see, not too long ago, this is now going on a week ago, my grandparents, and for those of you that know, you know, I take care of my grandparents. For those of you that don't know, I shared a little bit about my story. My grandparents to me are definitely just my heroes. They looked after me when I was younger, and I care for them deeply. And they got in a car crash. They got in a car crash on a Saturday. I get a phone call. My grandmother is screaming. She is like yelling bloody murder. I am with my son at this point. I have my 7-year old with me. I have my 2.5-year old with me. And she is yelling about how they got in a car crash. They are essentially in a situation where they feel completely like they just needed my help, right? So at this point, I end up asking her where she's at. She can't really put the words together. I finally am able to get it from her. And I head out to the freeway. And I'm telling you, when I was heading over there, these techniques played such an important and profound impact on how I carried myself. All I could think about is I was thankful that she was alive. All I could think about is I was thankful that I was able to be on a call with her at that moment. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and sit here and say it was just peaches and cream, because I'd be lying to you if I said that. But the reality is that being aware allows you to navigate through some contrasting situations in your life in such a different way than you typically would. And when I finally got over there, we got to the hospital. They were checking on them. They were going to be, in some like pain medication because they were, they're older. And I caught myself at one point kind of getting upset with the doctor because I truly felt as if he was just treating them like another number. Now, of course, that was my perspective. And I caught it. I was like, you know what? Maybe this is just the way he communicates. And if he is treating them as another number, it's okay. It's okay. It is what it is. But at the same time, there is the law that says you should not do to others what you do not want done to yourself. So I took it upon myself to stand up and I said, I just want you to take care of them as best as you can, as if they were your parents. And I know in that moment, he really didn't like me because of me standing up for what I believed was right. But that's the thing, guys. There's moments in life where the way you carry yourself is going to play such an impact. And I know in that moment that I was doing what felt right to stand up for my grandparents, but in a very calm and assertive way, versus how I see many people carrying themselves, yelling, losing composure, wanting to get themselves in a situation where they lose control. And you see, the moment that you lose control, you've lost everything. We cannot control other people, but we can control how we react to other people. I've said it in other podcasts and I'll say it again. Your responsibility is simply your responsibility to a situation. How do you respond? How are you responding to these situations that you're being faced with? Are you taking them head on, or are you running away? Are you learning from a situation, or are you doing the same thing over and over again? You see, all of these things play such an impact in your personality and how you carry yourself and how you treat others, and in turn, what you receive back. So, if I can leave you with anything today, if I can give you any input, any guidance that I wish at one point somebody would have shared with me, it is to take ownership of ourselves. It is to take ownership of our self development. It's to take ownership of who we want to be. And if you believe in perspective and you believe in just being open minded, then I want to encourage you to believe in the quantum field of possibilities. Okay. I talk about it in my coaching program with some of my students, and I was telling them how when you're in a state of quantum possibilities, you are realizing that everything already exists. You are simply a receiver. You are simply an antenna to share that possibility that already exists in the endless possibilities of the quantum. Now, the reason this is so important is because if you can learn to start operating from a state of abundance, of a state of love, in a state of coherence, regardless of what's going on in your external reality, the universe is going to give you more of what you're putting out. And I know sometimes it can be easier said than done. Trust me, I know all about that. However, magical things happen when you do this. Synchronicities start to occur all over in your life. There's opportunities that continue to happen, and everything just aligns in such a beautiful and profound way. I am telling you, have faith in your higher self, have faith in who you are, have faith in how you're able to change, and invest in yourself. You see, you're the biggest asset you have, but we've been conditioned to buy external things to make us feel as if we have more value. Buy the, Prada sunglasses and you will seem as if you are worthy, or buy these nice Gucci shoes and buy X and Y and Z. And all of these things are superficial external things. Now, I'm not saying you can't buy any of these things if this is something that's in alignment with you because you enjoy these things. But what I am saying is that you should make the time to find yourself worthy regardless of these things. Therefore, you're operating in such a different energy that all of this attracts to you. Today, I had some interviews with some new agents that are joining our team, and it was so beautiful because these personalities were in alignment with the energy I am putting out. Yes, I get it. We're in a business where we want to make money. We're obviously wanting to feed our families, but there's a right way to go about things. And you don't have to screw over people in order for you to grow, in order for you to get ahead. You can help people, and by helping them, you are still helping yourself. So with that being said, I want to thank you so much for joining us on yet another episode for Walking Manifestator. We've been seeing the support, and honestly, words cannot express how thankful I am. And with that being said, I want to leave you with our ending, and this is to make it your mission to visualize, embody, and transcend. Be the walking manifestator that you are meant to be. Thank you so much. Sending you much love, and I will talk to you on the next one.